So this morning we talk a lot about connection and relationship, and I want to talk this morning about connecting as an essential part of our path because it is such a deep and meaningful aspect of our humanity. And as social beings, as social creatures, we seek common ground. We try to foster understanding as best we can with those around us. And in Buddhism, connection really transcends the physical or emotional bonds that we normally think of. It's really rooted in the Buddha's sense of interdependence, the idea that all of us are interconnected. Certain qualities that I want to talk about this morning, when cultivated, when emphasized, can really serve as tools for strengthening our connections. And so I want to go through four of those, and they are taking the other person's perspective or point of view. These are all strategies for deepening our connections. Um, and among those, humility comes into play, an understanding of impermanence, and then what we'll call an orientation to the greater good. And all four of those really can transform or deepen our relationships if we set an intention to practice them, because they not only help us foster deeper relationships with others, but they illuminate the interconnected nature of life itself. And I hope you'll see that this morning as we dive into that. So let's talk first about humility, which is sometimes misunderstood, I think, as weakness or self-deprecation. But in Buddhism, it's really a profound acknowledgement of reality, by which I mean to be humble is to recognize that our individual self is neither separate nor superior from others. So we accept that reality. We see that we are but one thread of this vast tapestry of existence on the planet. And humility helps us set aside our ego-driven desires, our ego-driven priorities, helps us set aside our judgments, and it creates a space where genuine connection can flourish. I mean, if I come to you from a position of humility, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to feel invited in than if I come from an ego-driven place of arrogance or that sort of thing. So so when we approach each other with humility, we come with an open heart. We come with relative freedom from this need to dominate or assert superiority or prove that we're better than someone else. And by doing this, it really fosters trust. It really signals to the other person that we are open to listening, to learning, and to valuing their experience. The other thing I love about humility is it reminds us, and this is again sort of antithetical to the ego, it reminds us that we don't have all the answers, which softens the barriers that pride and self-righteousness often create. Okay. Again, humility is really the sort of polar opposite of pride and self-righteousness, and it's an essential tool for connecting meaningfully in a deeper way. It dissolves divisions. It invites mutual respect and understanding. So that's humility. Next is the practice of taking the other person's perspective, the practice of what I would call compassionate understanding. To take another person's perspective, to try to put ourselves in their shoes is really the practice of empathy. In Buddhism, this is closely tied to compassion, the heartfelt wish for others to be free from suffering. And when we try to see the world through someone else's eyes, what that does is allow us to momentarily set aside our own biases, our own assumptions, our own agenda, our own preferences. The stepping into someone else's experience is really an acknowledgement of our shared humanity. It's not putting ourselves separate and saying, I'm better than you. It deepens the connection by fostering that sense of solidarity. When we understand or try to understand what others feel and why they act as they do, then we're less likely to judge them, blame them, or be reactive toward them. Instead, we're more inclined to respond with kindness and support. It's a beautiful practice. If someone is short-tempered or distant if we take their perspective, we might have some insight into why they're overwhelmed or the struggles they're going through. People that behave badly, I'd say almost always are suffering. I mean, it's coming from a place of suffering. And I'm not saying we excuse it, especially if they treat us badly, but I'm saying we can try to get beyond our initial aversion to that. And rather than reacting with anger or frustration, we can try to approach them with care if we don't feel too defensive. And again, we honor this by doing this, we honor the interconnectedness of all of us. We move closer to the realization that at our core, we are not so different from one another. We are not so different from one another. We all have our struggles. We all suffer despite whatever masks we wear in our public persona. Third is our old friend impermanence, which is really the cornerstone, one of the cornerstones of the Buddhist teachings. It is the understanding that all things, and this includes relationships, but also emotions, possessions, life itself, are transient and ever changing and subject to end. And at first glance, you may say, well, impermanence might seem like a source of disconnection because it highlights the fleeting nature of everything. But paradoxically, I would argue that it can serve as a powerful tool for connection. When we recognize impermanence, we are reminded to cherish the present moment and the people within it. It brings us into the moment. It brings us into making this interaction with another important and not just something to blow through or go through with blinders on. Knowing that our time with others, especially those who are important to us, is finite, encourages us to be fully present, to listen deeply, and to engage wholeheartedly with them. The other thing I think impermanence can do is can foster forgiveness and reconciliation. When we understand that life is too short to cling to grudges, to cling to unresolved conflicts, to sort of lick our wounds, we're more likely to let go of resentment and extend compassion to others. We don't know when this is all going to end. And impermanence can also humble us because it reminds us that all of us face the cycle of birth, aging, and death. And this shared reality can unite us in mutual care and understanding. So I think impermanence can really be an important part if we bring the understanding of it to our relationships. And then finally, an orientation to the greater good, the practice of aligning our actions and intentions with the well-being of all. This is wise action, skillful action. And this is exemplified in the Buddhist teachings by the Bodhisattva ideal, which you may remember is this vow to work for the freedom of all sentient beings. This when we prioritize the collective welfare over individual gain, it helps us transcend the ego-based boundaries of self-interest. We tap into a deeper, more universal form of connection. Focusing on the greater good fosters unity because it reminds us of our shared purpose and our interconnected fate. When we act with the welfare of others in mind, whether through kindness, environmental stewardship, social justice, we affirm our place in the larger web of life. And this helps dissolve the illusion of separateness. It shifts us from the focus of me to a focus of us. So by working toward the greater good, we not only strengthen our bonds with others, but we contribute to a world where connection, compassion, and mutual understanding can thrive, qualities that are so desperately needed in these times. So humility, perspective taking, impermanence, and an orientation to the greater good are not just abstract virtues. They are practical tools for fostering connection in a world that's too often marked by division and isolation. Because through humility, we approach others with openness and respect. By taking the other's perspective, we cultivate empathy and compassion. By recognizing impermanence, we cherish the present moment and we let go of attachments that hinder connection in the moment. And by orienting ourselves to the greater good, we align our actions and our values with collective welfare, dissolving the barriers of self-centeredness. These tools, when practiced together, really shine a light on the interdependent nature of all existence. In the words of the Buddha, quote, just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, even so let one cultivate a boundless love toward all beings. Just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, even so let one cultivate a boundless love toward all beings. A boundless love that's rooted in humility, empathy, impermanence, and selflessness. Those are the tools which are the ultimate source of connection. A reminder that despite our differences, we are all deeply and inextricably linked and connected. So those are some thoughts on deepening our connections.